Going back to the new campaigns that the BNP has got, can you tell us a little bit more about them?
Yeah, well, obviously we've done a lot with our website. The hit rate's gone absolutely through the roof.
Yeah, it's 400% increase.
Yeah, and at present it's staying high.
Mm-hmm.
So that allows us to reach intelligent thinking people who've got time to sit and read and think.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of journalists look at it. Some of them are intelligent, some of them even think, some don't.
No.
But we know from responses we've reached a much wider range of people than we'd normally do. And we've made a real effort to keep up a steady stream of articles which are both sensitive and sensible, but also in depth and very critical of the trends that have allowed this to happen in our country. And there's been there's been intellectually heavyweight material on there. A number of people have said, a constant refrain actually in the emails from people has been, well, I logged on perhaps expecting to see just knee-jerk reaction against Muslims.
Yeah.
And I've actually seen some of the most sensible and humane discussions, about the big picture. In fact, more so on your site than anywhere else, even in the quality newspapers. That's come out. So we'll certainly keep that going on the website. On a more street level, we, as of this weekend, in the first weekend and first few days of the week, we're aiming to put out 300,000 of these. I'm sure you see Islamic terror, Labour failure leaflet. Who's to blame for the 7/7 massacre? Muslim extremists. Who's to blame for them being in the country? Labour, the Tories and the Lib Dems. And it carries on from there, and the back is a piece about free speech and so on. And very importantly, so it's got the headline on the bottom, don't get mad, get even.
Yeah.
Now that's the kind of thing which will get picked up or might get picked up with the mass media. What are we suggesting? But under that it says, help the BNP's political struggle to defend free speech and British democracy.
Yeah.
And it's a very effective leaflet. It's got one of the pictures of the bus on again, so it's quite likely to be picked up by the media large scale. And even if it isn't, everyone that I've heard of so far has been giving them out, has had a tremendous response from people. So we'll be putting those out, and we'll either run a much larger rerun of it, or we'll perhaps have something similar but more updated. But certainly we will hammer on this, because as I said before, at a certain level, up until now, the establishment have been able to point out, well, multiculturalism and diversity, it's brought us these benefits. And they're flimsy benefits, but they've pushed them and pushed them, so some people have believed them.
Yeah.
Now, people in places like Bradford or Dudley or whatever, there's huge numbers of people there who know perfectly well that any benefits are massively outweighed by the costs of multiculturalism, whether it's violence against young men or sexual predation against young women, or the way in which their taxes are spent at a local level and so on. Plenty of people in our core areas have direct first-hand experience that multiculturalism and diversity isn't always good. But there have been lots of people in this country who haven't had that.
No.
Like sort of Middle England has understood it instinctively, and the Daily Mail readers, they're they're up to here with multiculturalism and diversity, but it's still, to some extent, hasn't really struck home, I don't think, like this attack on their capital city. And we'll carry on hammering it, because this has changed British politics forever.
I think the challenge that you launched to Iqbal Sakrani was very effective. You tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, that was put it on the website, a challenge to Iqbal Sakrani and the Muslim Council of Britain, and it was a 4-page challenge, which is basically saying, if Islam is as peaceful as you say, would you please explain verses like Surah 9, ayat 123, fight those of the unbelievers who live near to you and show them how harsh you can be. Please explain it.
Have you had any response at all?
No, none at all.
Do you expect to get one or not?
No, I don't. We've had a few responses from individual Muslims who say I'm a moderate and so on. Actually, I've responded to those.
Yeah.
And even from those, I haven't had a single comeback. The most common one is, well, which Quran are you quoting? Is it a proper translation? So I've told them which translation it is, and they haven't come back. And I think they like to, I think they traditionally have been able to make any Westerner who does raised this question just backed down by saying, what do you know about the Quran? And when you quote literally chapter and verse back to them, they straight away back off. There was an interesting article in one of the newspapers at the weekend, I think it was the Observer, where a Muslim writing in it said that he was appalled to have turned on Radio 4 and heard the last voice that he wanted to hear.
Malik, wasn't it?
No, it wasn't McKinnon Malik. It was another one. Oh. The last voice he wanted to hear, namely mine, talking about the Quran and so on Radio 4. But he went on to say that in all probability Nick Griffin has made the effort to study and learn more about the Quran than most British Muslims. So we had one of the core key parts to the verse is the one that Tony Blair, the most important verse, in a way the one that Tony Blair and the others always quote, where it says that the Quran says that anyone who takes a life, it's as if they'd taken the life of all humanity. And I'm the only one who pointed out, until the last couple of days, there's now a fairly radical and liberal Muslim woman from Canada who's been now held up in the British media saying the same thing. We both said, that isn't the verse. The actual verse has a subclause in the middle of it, which whoever takes a life, not in revenge for a life, or for, what's the word they use? Unrest in the land and so on. So this subclause basically says, yeah, you can kill people if they've killed Muslims, and you can kill people if they bring corruption to the land. And as the challenge points out to Sakrani, how that is read by many, many Muslims, and all the extremists, but many others as well, is, well, yes, you can kill in exchange for killing, and our troops are killing Iraqis and Afghans, so therefore it's okay to kill in revenge for that. And also you can kill in revenge for corruption in the land. Now, there's a very good Islamic theological case for saying that having banks being allowed to charge interest is corruption in the land.
Yeah.
Having pretty girls being allowed to walk around in short-sleeved shirts in the summer is corruption in the land. Having appalling homosexual police officers like that Paddock creature down at Scotland Yard, to a good Muslim, that's corruption in the land. Therefore, all those things can be used to justify bombing attacks, and not just against those people, because also in the Quran there's another verse, or several verses, which explain how 9 individuals in a city did things wrong and wrought corruption in the land, and in revenge, Allah struck and destroyed the whole city. So there's an untold number of innocents there who perish, and their city is in total ruins, on account of the things done by those 9 individuals. So what I've said to Sakrani and his like in this challenge is, all right, there are peaceful things in the Quran, but there's also these verses, and please explain them.
And you've had no response?
No response.
Yeah.